Hello friends, welcome. Friends, today I am planning to do a deep dive video on converting Excel files which are downloaded from RBI website into a format which is very easy to process for visualization. Because if you look at the files which are getting downloaded from the RBI website, which I typically do all the time, you will find that this is in this particular format. I'll show it to you how it looks. So this is the format it looks. So I'm basically targeting a file or a link which is called external commercial borrowing for demonstration. So this is the file. When you download this, this is the file. The file is going to be something like this, right? Now you can't process this in this format. So even if you copy and paste in a different sheet, you will find that this is unprocessable. You can't process it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to teach you going to demonstrate before you how easily you can use Python to convert this into a format which is very easy to process, and show you how the end format is going to look. This is the format, right? So there will be a main category, there will be a subcategory, date and value. Why main and subcategory? The reason I'm going to use main and subcategory is because if you see here, this is the main category, the first column, the first row, which is identifying the data frame, the data, right? These are all merged rows, and then we have the second row, which is the second level of identifier for these columns, right? So both of them have to be extracted out and have to be converted into two separate columns, and then we have the financial year and the months, which have to be converted into dates, right? So we have got a lot of tasks to fulfill, and looks very onerous by looking at this file, right? But if you have some level of understanding of Python, you can imagine that your life will become so easy and simple. And that is why it is very important for everybody to learn these skills. Otherwise, you will be, at the mercy of others to give you the insight of data which is very easily available in various platforms, website, RBI, IMF, wherever you want to go, the data is always available, so you can process it by yourself. So that is why I want to demonstrate before you how can you use it very easily without having to depend on others. And this is not only easy to do, but it is scalable, because once you have written this code, you can just download this data, because this data is going to keep on scaling, right? We have data till October, then they will have data November of this financial year. So you don't have to do anything. You just pick up this file, store it in your disk, run the code, and your data will be ready. Okay. So without wasting any further time, let's begin, because this is going to be a long video, right? I'll try to make it as short as possible, because I have already written the code. I don't want to basically show you code which is already written. I'm going to demonstrate before you by writing the code, so that you can understand that it can be done very easily and step by step, because that's the way to go. So first, what I have done is I have imported the libraries. Then I have suppressed the warning, because sometimes it becomes distraction. Identified the folder path where my file has been saved. The name of the file which has been saved, this is the file which has been saved in this name. This is the file which I'm talking about, which I'm extracted from the website. So this file has been saved in this name, right? And then I'm reading the Excel file and storing in a data frame. So the data frame looks something like this. Now look at this data frame. It's so cumbersome. There are so many nulls. It's not useful. So the first step that you should do is to remove the columns with empty values. So what you do is use the function called drop_na. Okay. And in the drop_na, what you will do is use axis is equal to 1. Why axis is equal to 1? Because axis is equal to 1 is identifying the columns. And then you say how is equal to all. Okay. All means only those columns with all values of null will get eliminated. So I say enter. So you see, those columns with null gets eliminated. This is the first step. Okay. Store this in a data frame, df. Same data frame I am copying and converted it into another copy of the same data frame. So this is it. Now what do you have? You have a column with month name. Okay. But let me do head, because some of the columns rows are missing. So I'll say head 50. Okay. This will unlock the full data frame, so that you can see all the features of this data frame. Now this data frame has what? Let's look at this data frame. There are a lot of useless columns, rows here on top. These have to be removed, because these are all empty rows, right? And then there are empty rows here also, right? But there is a marker here which identifies the financial year. I can't use drop NA and I can't use axis equal to 0 and house equal to all to remove these rows, because these important rows are also going to get eliminated, which is identifying the financial year. So what I have to do, my next step would be to extract the value of this particular financial year and place them in a adjacent column. Because if I don't do it, then when I use drop NA with axis is equal to 0 to eliminate these rows, then this is also going to get eliminated. So that is the next step. So how I am going to do it? So in order to do it, what I have to do is I have to basically check the adjacent column with this, whether there is a value null or not. If there is a value null in the adjacent column, then I am going to place and create another column with this particular value. Wherever I find null, I am going to populate that with this value. Okay. So let's see how it works. So in order to do that, I am going to use a list comprehension. A list comprehension, friends, is extremely powerful. If you do not have an understanding of list comprehension, you will become handicapped. So when I started learning Python, I found the power of list comprehension, and I am literally amazed, because I never used to work. Because earlier I am an oldie. I never worked in Python earlier, right? I used to work in Pascal in my college days. But list comprehension, when I saw, I said, oh my God, this is like amazing, right? So let me tell you how it works. So what I'm going to do is, I'm extracting these two columns from the data frame and placing them adjacent to each other. And I'm going to use a function called zip. Okay. Zip is nothing but it's like a for loop. It's like a loop which I'll show you how it works. So let me just first run the zip function and show you how it will going to work. So I'll just say x, and I'll say x for x y in zip so and so. Okay, and I simply run it. So you'll find that since I'm only use x, in order to use y also, what I'll do is I'll place another list here, because if I put comma here without putting another list embedded within the list function, it is not going to work. It will throw an error. I'll show you how it is going to throw an error. So see, there is an error here. So what I have to do, I have to encapsulate this x and y in another list, right, within the list comprehension, right? This is the syntax. So when I run this, you will find that I have null adjacent to the financial year. So I have to basically check for these nulls and then create another column. So what I'm going to do, it's very simple. You see, so say x for y. For now y, you have to understand that you can't use simple y, right? Y, no, not for. If y is equal to np, or you can say null, null. Okay. Now if I am checking for nan, then I have to use str here. Okay, string. I have to convert the value of y into string. Then only it will work. So if y is equal to nan, then what? Then I am going to say x, right? Right? Else what? Else np nan. Because then I want np nan. Okay. This is the syntax. So x, if stry, because this is a zip function, is equal to nan, then x means what? This x. Place this here. Else np nan. So if I run this, you'll see what happens. There is a problem here. What is the problem? Oh, if str if expected else after, what is the problem? Let me just see what the problem is. Yeah, so basically I placed an x here. So I am still learning, right? So the x, actually I put a redundant x here. So this is working, see, and I run it, this is working, right? So what I did was, it is only placing null. It is basically extracting the financial number and placing in a different column, right? Now I can basically, what I can do, I am basically going to name this column as year. Okay. So here is the column as year. Now you see the data frame has one month column, which I'm going to rename later, and then one year column with this, right? Now, if I extract the year column and show it to you, you will find that the year column is incomplete. Means you will find, if I do a values, you'll find that there are a lot of nulls here. You see, nulls. So these have to be populated. Then only it will be anchoring the month name adjacent to the financial year which I want. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the same ffill function, right? And once I use ffill function, what's happening is that the ffill function does what? It populates the nulls with the value of the in the column which is on the top. Means whatever, suppose let's say if you have nulls in the column, right, which I showed you earlier. Let me show you this. So these are the nulls that you have. Let me do head so that I can explain to you, because it is very important to understand what is going on, otherwise it makes no sense, right? Copying code does not make. So what it will do is, it will just populate the value of nulls with the value above it, right, which you want. Then only these values are going to become adjacent to the month name. That is the objective. So this is what the ffill function is doing. So what I am going to do now, I am going to just copy this in the same column of the data frame, and now the data frame will now have the financial year populated adjacent to the months. Now you see the financial years are populated adjacent to the months, right? So one objective is over. Now I have to remove these unnecessary rows. For that, what I have to do, I have to set these two important anchor columns as index, which is unnamed one and year, because these are the two important columns which will anchor the whole data frame or whole values of the data frame, right? And everything else is unnecessary except the headers, which I'm going to show you later, because the headers are not going to get eliminated because they have real values, they are not null. Only those rows are going to get eliminated which have full nulls after having converted these two columns at index. So the next step is to convert them into index. Now I'm going to use a function called set index, right, df set index, and then I'm going to pass a list here with the names of the columns which I have to convert into index, right? So I'll just use this, and then I'm going to use another name as year, and okay, so there is a problem here, okay, and then once having done that, what you will see that both the columns will get converted in index. Now these are out of the data frame. Now it becomes very easy for me to drop this row. So I'll say drop NA, and then say axis is equal to 0, and then I say how is equal to all, right? See, so easy, everything is gone, right? Now we have a very clean data frame. So I'll say df now, df is equal to, so we are all set, more or less. We are making a lot of progress. So we have got two columns here. So we have a year column, we have a month, we have got two index here, one year index, we have a month index, and then we have two important columns which are going to be used for naming the names of the columns, right? Because I'm going to use to rename these data frame using these two columns, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, right? Which is the next step which I'm going to do. So for that, I have to extract these two rows. So it's very easy in Python to extract rows. You can use iloc function, and the index is 0 because iloc, I am basically identifying the index by identifying number index 0, and then all columns. So the first row will get extracted. See, first row. Here also I am going to use the same ffill function to fill all the nulls with the value above. So I am going to use ffill, and then you see, so the first header is been created. The first header is created, right? Header 1. So header 1. Similarly, I will create header 2 also. If there are any values like that, it will get populated. So I'll say header 2, row 1, row with index 1, and ffill. So we have got both header 1 and header 2 ready. Now again I am going to use a list comprehension, right? Which is xy, you see, x plus y to create a combined header. And then I say for x, y in header 1, again I have to use zip here, zip header 1 and header 2. Okay, so what is the problem here? Oh, I forgot this. What is the problem here? Yeah, so I actually put a square bracket inside. That is the problem. So now we have x plus y. Both the headers are combined with as one. Now this is not going to work because I need an identifier in between, because I want to create one of the header as main category, another header as subcategory. So what I will do is I'll put a identifier in between, right? So what is the identifier that you're going to put? I'm going to put a identifier as star, and you will see later how this star is going to be useful, right? So now we have another column which is called this with an header, right? So this will become a combined header, right? Okay. Now what I'm going to rename the data frame with this column, with this name of this new column, df columns is equal to header, right? So now you see the data frame has become, all the unnames have been removed, so we have named the columns with the new headers that we created from the row number 1 and row number 2. That's row with index 0 and row with index 1. Now let me drop this. So dropping is also very easy. I say iloc, and then what I'm going to use? I'm going to use I'll say 0, 1, and I'll say, oh no, I'm going to use 1 and all columns, and you'll find that both the rows are removed. And now I am going to store this in another data frame, the same copy of the data frame, and create another new data frame. So now we have a very clean data frame, right, with all the rows. Oh sorry, one of the remaining rows are left out. Sorry, I think this should have been 2 here. So let me run this again. So now we are here, and I'll say 2 here, and then you see gone. So everything is gone. Now we have a very clean data frame with that. So now I'm going to reset index, because I have to convert this index into columns. So I say reset index. Oh sorry, not a good typer, right? And then so you see now both these index have been converted into column. Now I'm going to do what? I'm going to rename this as month. So I'll say rename columns is equal to, I'll create a dictionary here, and I'll just copy this, and I'll say Control V, and then I'll say month. Okay, month, and I close the dictionary and close the bracket, and you see this column has been named a month, and I'm going to store this as data frame in data, another copy of the data frame. Now you have a very nice and clean data frame ready in front of us. You see, now let me convert this in a vertical form, which is also very simple to do, right? So what I have to do now, I'm using function called melt. So I'll say pd melt, and then I'm going to use put the data frame inside, and I say id vars. ID vars means I just don't want to melt these 2 columns, because these are the 2 columns which are going to identify that will be anchor columns, right? So ID vars. So I'm going to create another list. I'll say month, and then I'm going to say year. Okay, and then I'm going to say var name as type, because the horizontal name of the main category and the subcategory which I am going to finally create. So I'll naming it as type, and then value name as value. Okay, now you'll see how simple this is. See, the whole horizontal data frame has been converted into vertical data frame. I am now going to store this here as df. Okay, and then what I have to do now, I have to create a subcategory and a main category. I told you, that's why I put an identifier here as star. So here I'm going to take the type column, and then I'm going to create another list function, right? The list function is, by the way, I told you, it's very useful for x in type, df type, right? So what you have got this. Now what is my purpose? I have to split this, right, is with the identifier star. So I'm going to use another Python function, split split, and then I'm going to use star, and then you will find that there are 2 different there's a list within the list, right? And now it becomes very easy for me to separate it out. So what I can do is that I can say df, right? I can say main cat, and then I'll say equal to, and then I'm going to use the first index 0, right? And then I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to create a subcategory df subcat, and I'm going to say 1. Okay. Now when you look at the fresh data frame, you'll find the main category, subcategory have been separated out, and I'm going to remove the type column, right? So I'll say remove columns. Columns is equal to type. Now what is there? So we remove df dot remove. Yeah, so it was not removed, it was dropped. So I got myself getting confused. See, I'm not an expert, okay? I'm still learning, so please bear with me. So df.drop columns is equal to type. Though I've used this so many times, I've got confused. Anyway, so df is equal to, so now we have df. So now look at this. So we have got month, year, value, main category. Okay. Now the next step is to extract out the years and convert this into two different years with full year, with y. So we have got 1 year, 2019, and there will be 2020. The reason I want to do that, then only I'll be able to convert it into a date function. Okay. So how do I do it? So again, it is very simple. I'm going to use list comprehension, right? So if I use list comprehension, so you will find that for x in df here, and then I'm going to process x in such a way that both these will get extracted out. So again, I'm going to use a split function, split, and then I'm going to extract this, and I split with the identifier a dash. So you'll find that two different values will get separated out. So one of them will be the start year, so df str to start year, and so I'm going to store it, and I'm going to say 0 year. Okay, and then there will be other will be end here. So I'm going to copy and paste, and I'll say end year, and I'm going to say 1. And before I do that, I'm going to strip all the unnecessary garbage out of this, because you see there are a lot of spaces there. So I say strip, 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 and you will find that both the clean. So there are two different columns. Oh, there one more thing which I had to do, I forgot to do, which is to add 20 in front. Otherwise it will not become. So I'll just add 20, and I'll just simply. So now you see we have got two different columns, start year and end year, and then I'm going to drop the year column. So I'll say drop columns year. Okay, so now we have the data frame ready for further processing. So we have got what? We have got start year, we have got end year, we have got month, and we have got value main category. So it's kind of becoming very, very simple and easy. Now one more thing which I have to do, and I don't have time to write the code here, so I'm going to copy. So I'm going to create a dictionary like this. So I'm going to copy this, right? And this I'm going to put it here. Why I'm going to do it, you'll know very easily. I'm going to replace these names of month, February, March, February, January with numbers, right? So it's very simple to do. So I'll say rename, replace, replace, and month, date. See? Let me copy this, control and paste. Now you see, this has been removed. All the month values have been, see, look this has been replaced by 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will be important for me to do that. So again, I create another copy of the data frame. So the data frame is ready, right? Now again, I don't have time to type because the video will become very long. So I'm going to copy this long thing, which I'm going to show you what it basically will do. So it will convert this into a date column. So what I'm doing, I'm using a function called date time, and then I am using both start year. Look at this, start year and end year here, start year and end year. So month, start year and end year, putting in a zip function, then I'm using XYZ. And then what I'm doing is that because this is a financial year start from April and then end in March. So when I say FY20, so I have to basically take into consideration the financial year of March, because see, it will end in March. So if it is going to be within 1, 2, 3, right, then it is going to be date time in Z. Z is what? Z is this end year, right? Correct? Because if it is within 1, 2, 3, it will be end year, right? And otherwise it will be start year. So date time int Z, X is what? X is this, X is month, and 1 is the first date of the month. If X is in, so this is going to be, if X means X is what? This month is in 1, 2, 3. Else it is going to be other way, which is int Y. Y is what? This start year. Then X is month, and 1, right? So if I run this, you'll find that the date column will get created. Okay. Then I can basically remove start year and end year. So you can do it, it's a matter of, very simple to do. The other thing now I have to do is that I convert this to the end of the month here. Again, I don't have time to basically write the code. So I'm going to simply copy the function here. So this is a function which you can use, very simple function. And I'll just simply paste here, Control B, and I'm going to apply this particular function, right, to the date column to convert this into end of month, right? So I just run this. What happened? Oh, import. Okay. So now if you do, you see, now we have date end of month, right? So I am going to remove this date column. So what columns I have to remove now? I have to remove the column month. Then I have to remove the column. So let me just do drop, and then I say the columns is equal to, so I'll take the first column as a month, T as a month, and then I remove the column start year and end year, and date. Control C. So Control V. So, oh sorry, what happened? Control Z. So sorry, Control C, Control V. So start year, then end year, and then what else? Date, because date was the start of the month. I don't need the start of the month, I need the end of the month, right? So once I did that, you see, the data frame has become very simple. And then I am going to rename this date end of month as date. So I say rename column, and I put a dictionary, and I say Control C, Control V, and I'll just simply, and I say date. Okay. Now you see, now this is the final data frame. So how simple and easy it looks, right? So since I have took so much time to basically type, that's why it took so much time. Otherwise, you look at the logic. The logic is very simple, right? And then what you can do, one more function you can do is that you can just rearrange this columns. Control Z. So I just simply say Control C, and then I'll put it here Control V. So the columns will get rearranged, and then you have date first, main category, subcategory, and then you can save it in the file and use it. So I hope friends, you might have find this video useful, and this is completely scalable. Now you have the code ready. Next time copy the file, drop the file as soon as the new file comes, and then simply run this code and your file is ready for processing. Hope you have found this video useful, and let me know if anything else you want me to cover. By the way, I am not an expert of Python. Let me tell you, my experience is only on the work that I do, and whatever I share is what I find valuable for me personally, which I think that it will be valuable for you. That's why I share this. Otherwise, there are experts which are 100 times better than me, 1,000 times better than me. I am just simply an oldie trying to learn some new technology. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.